podcast where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I'm your host, Chance Pitts, and I would like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys, surprise, surprise on this one. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got some video to this podcast as opposed to the normally just audio version of the videos we put out. But, guys, if you're listening on Spotify, regular programming right back here with another Thoughtful Thursday. First off, as always, we've got a little bit of housekeeping, guys. If you receive value from this episode or any other episode of the Next in Line podcast, we would ask that you share the show with like-minded individuals or anyone who might receive value from this podcast, from the message we're putting out. That's the number one way for us to grow. Guys, you can also help us out by subscribing on whatever platform you listen on, leaving us a rating, review, comment, like, whatever you can do to just interact with us. That'll help us pop up in the search bar a little bit easier as people look for self-help and personal development style podcasts. So guys, that's the big ask that we've got. Additionally, what you can do is you can help us out by checking us out on social media. We've got a lot of great content over there as well. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We'd love to see you there, love to interact with you there, and love to get a DM. Let us know how we're doing, guys. That's the purpose of this whole thing, to reach as many people as we can and to help as many people as we can on a large scale. Guys, as I sit down to record this podcast, the reason I recorded it is because there's been something that has been rearing its head up in my life, in every aspect of my life lately on a regular basis. And that is that I have ran myself to a point that I am pretty exhausted. And the reason I have done that is because I have not given myself proper time to recover from the things that I'm doing. I've got a very heavy run schedule. I'm also still lifting. There's a lot of things that I could do to help ease the burden, but there's some other factors as well that aren't as usual as normal. And those would be that, I've had a couple work meetings. I've had a couple of work events that have kept me out late. And it's kind of pushed me over the edge and made me very tired. In fact, whenever I'm on these runs that I've been doing, even my 6 mile, my 5 mile runs, kind of median runs, I would get tired. I honestly had a lot of desire to quit. But there's something that kept running through my head that kept me from walking away, kept me from quitting, and that's a stanza of the poem by Robert Frost. The poem's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Robert Frost is one of my favorite poets. I'm a big poetry fan, if you didn't know that. But this poem talks about some things that are very prevalent in my life. And I wanted to hit y'all with the last 4 lines, the final stanza of this poem, and kind of break it down a little bit and let y'all know how that has helped me through this process. And maybe it'll help some of y'all get some insight into going one more and pushing on, as Nick Bear says, and the power of one more, as Ed Milet says. Shout out to a good friend whose wife gave me a copy of Ed's new book, by the way. Super stoked about that. Received it today. Very excited to get that one in the books. But guys, the poem I'm talking about, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, the last stanza goes like this. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. And guys, like I said, I just want to break that down with you real quick. Now that first line right there, the woods are lovely, dark, and deep. Let me hit the setting for you. He is walking by the woods on a snowy evening, as stated in the title of the poem. And he's got miles to go. He's not close to his destination. He sees a spot where he could go into the woods. He can relax. He can give into the temptation of not completing his journey. So that temptation rears its head up in this final stanza really, really heavy. But he has promises to keep. He has told somebody that no matter how tired he is, no matter how worn out he is, he's made a promise, whether that's to somebody else, whether it's to a boss, whether it's to a friend, a wife, a child, or even probably the most prevalent one for most of us today, to ourselves. He's made that promise and he's not going to go back on it. He's not going to give up. He's not going to give in to that temptation of walking away or quitting. He's going to push through no matter what, because those final 2 lines, show that he's got miles to go before he sleeps. Miles to go before he sleeps. It is something that is so prevalent right now in my life. I have made so many promises. I've stretched myself thin in so many different ways. And that temptation is right in my face at all times, guys. I know it might seem crazy when I'm posting motivational stuff, whenever I'm posting all these runs I'm doing, especially the long runs. Everybody sees it and they think that I'm some kind of crazy person that never gets tired, that never loses motivation, never loses inspiration. But I'm just like anybody else. I find that temptation whenever I'm exhausted like I am right now. I've moved myself to a point of physical and mental exhaustion. And now that's not me trying to get sympathy. It's not me making excuses by any means at all, because you know that's something I don't do, and that's not a way I live my life. That's not the standard that I let myself live in. That's never going to be the case. But guys, I am tired. Like I said, I've put myself in a situation to where work has let me kind of overextend myself in some ways. My training schedule has overextended myself in some ways. And I've also not gotten the most sleep at night. I've not paid attention to my nutrients like I should have for recovery as well. My stretching, my water intake, all of the above has lacked off because I am tired. I let my guard down a little bit. But guys, I have made promises to myself in every single aspect of my life, whether it's my career, whether it's my personal life with my wife, whether it's taking care of business here at the house to help out however I can, whether it's sticking to my training schedule that I've set for myself, or this 75 hard that, yes, I failed, but I'm continuing to follow the pattern of and follow the program of. I have dedicated myself to trying to become somebody that is better on a regular basis. And that's not something I can ever afford to really walk away from. Now, like I said, guys, that second line, or that first line in this poem, talks about how lovely it would be to just give in to that temptation, to walk away. And I would strongly believe that a lot of y'all are probably going through the same exact things in your life. It's not an easy time for anybody out there. Between the remnants of COVID still being out there, the new sicknesses coming out with the monkeypox, all this crazy stuff going on in the world, supply chain issues, rising prices on rent, the grocery store. It seems like work's just more demanding and more demanding, and the weekends seem shorter and shorter. And I get that, guys. I understand it. And the temptation's going to be there to want to make excuses, to want to walk away, to want to give in. But you can't do that, guys, because we've all got that road we've got to walk down. We've all got those extra miles that we have to go before we sleep, because there's people that depend on us. There are family members, there's kids, wives, friends, co-workers, bosses, customers we've dedicated ourselves to, all these different people that live these lives that depend upon us to do the things that we say we're going to do. And maybe we've overextended ourselves just a little bit, but it's something that we're going to do because we stand by our word, we stand by what we say, and we strive for excellence. And that's just how it is, guys. One thing I touched on just a minute ago that I want to dive into a little bit is a lot of these promises that we have made that we have to keep, like it talks about in that second line of that poem in the last stanza. The person we've made those promises to is ourselves. And I've mentioned that book by Ed Milet that I was gifted today. It was Ed Milet that said this, I believe, and I consume so much personal development content that I'm probably not going to get it exactly right. But he talks about the power of making promises to yourself and keeping them. If you really want to build true self-confidence and trust in yourself, and you want to believe in yourself that you're going to do the things that you say you're going to do, you're going to be able to achieve whatever you set out for in this life, then you have to start honoring these agreements that you make. If you say, I'm going to get this done at work today, get it done, guys. Put in the work. If you say, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to walk a mile today, don't let yourself back out of that. Hold yourself to a high standard. Demand greatness for yourself. There will be a time to rest, but guys, that's not right now. That's not in game time when we're all trying to push and keep ourselves motivated and going. Because whenever you're able to honor those agreements with yourself, you build true self-confidence. confidence. That's how mental fortitude starts to fall into place for you. You can snowball that into other areas of your life, and you grow confidence not in just the work tasks that you are able to hold yourself accountable for, not just in the diet that you're able to hold your standard to, not just in the physical exercise, but it goes to the finances. It goes to the intentionality you spend with the time that you spend with your family. It is a crazy thing the way development ties into itself in this manner. And guys, I cannot say enough about that. I'm going to keep it really brief today, and I'm going to make this podcast a short one, but guys, I'm going to leave you with this final question. Whenever you see the temptation that's lovely, dark, and deep, and whenever you know that you've got the promises that you've made that you must keep, and then you see those miles in front of you, you've got the miles to go before you sleep, the miles to go before you sleep, what are you going to do in that instance? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to push on, I'm going to honor the agreements, and I'm going to make myself the agreements, and I'm going to honor them every single time, because that's what I'm made of. That's the person I'm going to try to be. And if I'm ever going to make myself into something that I want to be in this life, that's what's going to do it. Guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Next in Line podcast. I know it was a short one. Thanks for hanging out. Also, guys, we had some awesome interviews put out. If you have not seen the one with Lane Diven, it's a powerful talk. It's awesome. Make sure you go check that out. It's the last episode we just dropped with video as well. Also, guys, I was able to record a podcast with the awesome Brooke Smith. That's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. Very excited to share her awesome and just powerful story with y'all. But guys, make sure you're sharing the show. Make sure you follow us on social media and interact with us there. Help us spread the message, and always be prepared for whatever is next in line.